Well, hello, we are here. We're live. Life's Co-Pilot is really excited tonight to introduce a group of experts on Medicare. So we're going to learn a lot about Medicare today. I know myself, I have some personal selfish reasons because I'm getting real close to having to look at it. So I'm going to learn a lot for myself tonight. If you're in that situation, hopefully it'll be helpful for you as well. And going through all the different things that are going to happen Medicare related today. So let's start this whole thing out. Bruce, you're to the big in my screen right now, so I'm going to pick on you. Tell me who you are, who you're with, what you guys do.
Okay. My name is Bruce Muller, and I'm with SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Program. And that translates to we are essentially your local help for Medicare. Every state does have a SHIP program. However, not every state calls it SHIP. I believe in Florida, they call it Shine. California has different names for it. But essentially, every state does have a SHIP program. And like I said, we are essentially Medicare. There's not a Medicare office like there is for Social Security. So without a SHIP person, for someone directly connected to Medicare, it's us. Otherwise, you would not have any place to go. So we do operate with volunteers and also paid. The paid people are through the agencies such as SECOA and some of the senior centers and senior services like that. Just today, I got an update on the number of people we do have between paid people through an agency and our volunteers. We have about 420 people around the state. And for them to become a volunteer, they have to take a 4-day Medicare training course, and then they're updated periodically. And as the other folks on the on the screen here know, there's lots of information that's coming at you every minute. Some of our sites around the city we're at St. Vincent Hospital, we're at Heritage Place, we're at Crestwood South. So a lot of different places where people could go. I am a volunteer supervisor. I am over the 7 central Indiana counties. There are 7 of me. Then we have an office staff located within the state office building. And we are funded through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. So it's again, we offer help, we offer solutions. There's lots of ongoing questions about it as what do we do? How do we do it? People always have ongoing issues. I sometimes tell people we will get you the answer for sure. However, you might not like the answer we're going to get you, but we will be able to get you an answer. We're not going to you have something, a concern that's really not directly Medicare related. We'll do our best to point you in the correct direction. We just won't say that's not in our area and goodbye, but we'll do our best.
Well, thank you. Colleen, you're next to him on my screen, so it may be different on yours, but on mine, you're there. So tell me about who you are and what you and your company do and the scope of services.
My name's Colleen Page, and I work for a company called AMBA, Associate Member Benefit Advisor. So we are basically benefit advisors for seniors to help them have a roadmap into Medicare, understanding, like you said, the alphabet soup and what to do. And we sell Medicare supplements. We do long-term care. We do home health care, ambulatory services, and cancer policies. So we kind of try to make sure they have all their holes filled in, so they have basically what they have is when they have a major medical policy.
Well, very good. So Mona, you're next here. So tell me who you are, your company, and what you do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mona Euler. I'm the founder of My Healthcare Advocate. What we try to do is educate seniors. We do healthcare coordination, and that means not only their medical, but also looking at their insurance needs. So we specialize in Medicare, Medicare Advantage, supplement, Part D, and long-term care plans, and really trying to look at the whole picture of the patient. I love that you can give people options. I'm a registered nurse and also a licensed agent. So I love the fact that we're all here tonight to give people education and options, because like my peers know, Medicare is definitely a maze. It changes all the time. I wouldn't say that it's easy to understand, even with people that have been in the business a long time. You really have to keep up with it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to educate. And with the aging of America that we see now and we see coming in the next 10 or 15 years, where it's projected to almost double, we are definitely going to need to help support each other and all those seniors out there that are turning 65 with different options for their care.
Excellent. So, Rachel,
I'm
tell
Rachel
me who
Bell.
you are and what you do.
All right, so I'm kind of along the same lines. I am really just out educating clients in the market. I also primarily work with other agents and supporting them. So we work with independent agents who are offering both Medicare supplements as well as Medicare Advantage. And it's really just the approach to show clients how the products work, when you need to start making decisions, and then helping them moving forward year over year as their circumstances change, as the plans change in the market, and then kind of taking it at that point and helping them make those moves.
Excellent. Kevin, who are you and what do you do? And by the way, I know that all of you guys are in the same basic space, but tell me the some things that you guys do. So, Kevin, you're muted. Still not working. Let's try Leslie. Leslie, do you want to introduce you? I don't see your face yet, but are you there? I see you on. Leslie? Kevin, see if you get your sound working, let me know, and then come back and yell. It says you're not muted, but for some reason I can't see you.
Oh,
Yeah, I see that you say it's. I don't know. For me, it says that you're not muted, but you're not coming across. So see if you can figure that one out. I'll let you work on that for a while. So let's just kind of get started here a little bit. Let's and some of these questions I want to answer. And by the way, panelists, please, if one of the panels says something that you really want to add on to, if you have questions you want to ask each other, that's perfectly cool. So what I want to kind of start off with is, again, I told you I'm selfish. I'll be 64 next month. So now I have to actually start paying attention to this. Okay. So what does someone that's, and I think, Colleen, didn't you just say that you've got a birthday coming up too? So, anyway,
I'll be 64 tomorrow.
there you go. So there's probably others of us that are either on this thing watching it or will be soon. Okay. So, that will be in this boat. So what kind of things would you recommend as far as that we need to know before we sign up, or, need what things we need to be putting on our radar? I don't care who starts this. Colleen, you look like you're ready to go.
I mean, I think that it's important for everybody to kind of understand that, in my mind, Medicare is not the end all be all. I don't think it ever was anticipated to be that. I think that maybe there are a few things that maybe they don't do well. That's just my opinion. I think that cancer is a really big problem in our society, and it's super, super expensive. And I feel like some of the medications for cancer are not paid very well. So I think that that's maybe something that people need to look at. I'm a 20-year survivor of breast cancer, and I have a cancer policy because I'm just not sure what, who's going to pay what. So that's something I would advise people to look at. Other than that, I think Medicare does a really good job. There are just a few little areas where I think that, maybe you could use additional help.
Anybody else want to go in on this one? Basically, what I'm trying to figure out is, like, if you're coming up to Medicare time, okay, it's time for you to start looking at it. What do you need to be preparing for before is there a date that you have to have something done by, as you're turning 65?
There
Can you
are
hear?
enrollment periods that you need to be aware of.
Mhm.
So that's why I would say just reaching out to somebody on this panel, for example, and just getting that or reaching out to them, because it's going to depend on, are you working, or are you already taking Social Security? So some of it's automatic, some of it you need to pull the trigger and actually start the enrollment process. So that would be more of a specific to each person
Okay.
as to whether or not they need to be doing something now. But I would say 3 months ahead of the month of your 65th birthday, just reach out to somebody so that you can kind of get that time frame in line and understand when you
Kind
need to
of
start
a
doing.
roadmap to explain what's happening.
Mhm.
Pardon me?
It
And
helps to have one of us, or someone that you trust, it really explain it. You can look online and find information related to what is Medicare A, what is Medicare B, what is Medicare C, D. But you're going to formulate a lot of questions that maybe you can't get from online. And that's why reaching out to someone that has experience that can walk you through the process or answer your questions ahead of time, like what Rachel said before, but not too far ahead, because if you reach out now to one of us, you're going to not retain a lot of that information. So at least, 4 to 3 months before is ideal for someone to be able to answer those questions.
Okay.
And yes, please reach out to a professional. Some of us don't rely on your friends and relatives. When you call your sister in Fort Wayne and she says, oh, do this, this, and that, it's just wonderful. Well, her situation could be and probably is completely different than yours. But what's good for her isn't what's good for you. And also, too, I do get asked sometimes, because I do work with people either online or on the phone, and they want to know about, should I work with somebody locally? Is there an advantage to doing it online as opposed to locally cost-wise? And I say no. But if you can work with somebody locally and you have somebody, please do, because then you really do have a person, again, who is local, who is going to be looking out for you.
Right.
Well, I think before anybody gets, I want to make sure if our audience is going, well, you guys are trying to sell us insurance. How much does it cost any of these individuals to have you guys help them with the insurance? Is there?
Zero.
Can you hear
Nothing.
me now, Jim? This is Leslie. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Leslie.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, one of the things that I was thinking as the others were speaking is it's super important, I think, for folks to know as they're looking for their insurance that for licensed insurance agents in Medicare, there is no charge
Right.
for any assistance. And if someone tells you, oh, I'll help you, and they want to charge you, that's illegal. They cannot charge you. So this is one of the few industries where people can get professional help, but they don't have to pay out of pocket for that. There's no cost to them for that.
Right.
Well, that's what I was wanting to make sure people are aware of. I didn't know that until I started meeting you guys. Okay. And I've got family members who've been dealing with it for years, and I don't know that they knew it. Okay. So it's that type of thing. Leslie, while we have you showing up here, why don't you tell me who you are and your company, what you do? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Leslie Sharples, and our company is Indiana Insurance Advisors. My husband and I have an office in Noblesville, Indiana. My husband is Keith Sharples. He's retired military. I have a background of a bachelor's degree in nursing, master's degree in healthcare administration. I came over to this industry to help my husband in the business, and we love it. We're independent agents also.
Excellent.
And I think someone pointed out the importance of being an independent agent. When you're looking for help, someone who's independent can look at the major companies and see what's most suited for each specific person's needs.
Excellent. Kevin, let's see if we have your sound yet. Right now it says that you're not, it says that you're mute, but oh, you still have no sound. I don't know what to tell you. We'll have to figure that one out. So, all right. So basically, you guys are free. You're a great resource. You can help people do things. What if you're still working someplace? What if you still got a job and you have no intention of retiring and you're on a company benefit plan? How does that work with Medicare? Whoever. This is all you guys are all good at this, so I'll let you all go in on this. So
I'll take that if you want. When
Yeah.
someone is still working and they turn 65, then they have the option of staying on their employer plan or going on to Medicare. It's important to check your plan with your employer and see what your costs are and compare that with what your costs would be on Medicare. And also, you want to look at contacting Social Security to get your Medicare Part A started. If you've worked 40 quarters in your lifetime, then you don't have to pay additional for Part A. Part B, you want to see if your employer requires you to get that. If not, you'll want to wait to start your Part B until you actually retire or when you're ready to go on to Medicare.
So this will be
Leslie,
go ahead.
oh, just brought a good point. I mean, costs, you do need to look at your costs and really evaluate that on what your options are. It's really important to put that down on paper and make that decision.
So the cost that you're getting, the company is not paying that you're paying out of your salary versus what it would cost you for Medicare. Is that what you're talking about? Or
Yeah, and the different options that are available, whether if you're turning 65 and just looking at, should you stay on your company plan or should you go on Medicare? That's really going to be important to look at the cost of what it would be with a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan versus staying with your company plan. Sometimes it makes sense to, not take your company plan. Everybody is different. And that's why it's really important to sit down with someone you trust or someone that you can continue to ask questions to make that evaluation.
Yeah. With some employers, the employer coverage that they've had is very comprehensive and it's at minimal cost for the customer. Some companies don't have that same amount of comprehensive coverage and their costs are higher. So it's good to do a cost benefit analysis and just see what you're paying and what you're getting out of what you're paying.
Mm-hmm.
what would be what you brought up about about your part A, that you have to do that at 65 anyway. Is that correct? Is that what I understood you said? Or if you don't, you lose benefit, or how's that work?
No, you don't have to start your Part A, but when you turn 65, even if you're going to stay on your employer plan, for most people, it's beneficial to go ahead and start your A because you're not having to pay additional for that. If you stay on your employer plan, like I said, you need to verify with your employer if they require you to get B. If not, you'll want to wait until you're ready to go on Medicare because you don't want to pay that if you don't have to. But working with an insurance advisor, they can help you take a look at your options and see what's going to be most beneficial for you, looking at what you currently have and then what is available to you once you go on Medicare.
Yeah, it sounds like to me a bunch of people probably screw this up. Am I wrong, or is this is that fairly close to being right?
I think one of the other people on the panel, they made the point about ask a professional. Don't take the advice from your friends and neighbors. I mean, it's okay to listen to your friends and neighbors, but getting the advice of a professional is the best way to avoid those kinds of costly situations.
Because as I'm listening to this, I'm guaranteeing that people don't do this right. As they're marching into this whole thing. So,
So there could be gaps.
Jim, I just want to say, Medicare is like a lot of things. There's a lot of, I guess I'd compare it to the COVID vaccines. How many misstatements are there out about the vaccine that people maybe believe because they've heard that? The same thing with Medicare. There's different things that pop up that people repeat or they've heard it once, and there's a lot of things I know a little bit about, but not enough to be an expert, and that can kind of happen in Medicare too. And I would say the most common thing is somebody asking a friend or relative, "What do you do?" And whatever they're doing is working for them, and they think it's great, but it's not going to work for you. So again, you really do need to do your your research. I found even the other day with the Part B, and somebody was still working, he wanted to take it 6 months before he really needed to, because he wanted to be sure that he has a pre-existing condition, and he was worried that he wouldn't be accepted if he waited. And it took some time to convince him that he was okay because he was.
Jim, we get a lot. Yeah, all of us have had those with people, they mean well, or they just don't understand. And it's just it can be sort of complicated unless you have someone to walk you through it. And so that's why we're all here, is if they do make mistakes, so how to correct them or how to educate them. But they do make mistakes.
Well, I just couldn't see how you couldn't, is what I was trying to figure out. Kevin, it tells me that you have sound. I don't know if you do or not, but it said connected to sound pop up. So no. So, anyway, I don't know. So let's kind of get into some of this other stuff. You know, you've got Part A, Part B, you got the alphabet soup. And I'll be real frank with you. I have been trying to help my mom, my uncle, my whatever for years. I never have figured out what the heck these things are. I'm constantly confused. Could somebody, I don't care, Rachel, you teach the teachers, right? So I'm gonna let you pick on this for a minute. Explain what all that stuff actually means. What do each one of those mean, and what do we need to know about them? And then y'all can jump in on it. So.
Original Medicare would consist of Part A and B. So Part A is your hospital insurance, Part B is medical. But I think a lot of people just going into Medicare, you assume that that's all you need. But there are gaps, there are co-pays, deductibles with each part of that. So then it's a matter of just explaining what the two options, and for most people, there are mainly two options. Some may have retiree coverage, some other plans that would work with Medicare. So, but for most, you're going to be looking at maybe adding a Medicare supplement and a standalone prescription drug plan. A Med Sup, depending on the plan that you're looking at, would fill in those gaps under original Medicare, and the gaps only. So you're not getting anything additional with that. So you're adding a prescription drug plan, maybe some other dental or something like that. Or you can go the route of a Medicare Advantage, which those are through private insurance companies, and they are taking all of those services under A and B. And you're typically seeing maybe a prescription drug benefit built into that, and maybe some additional benefits, but they work differently. There's different timeframes to enroll, and there's different rules if you want to go from one to another, or vice versa. So those are things that people need to understand is if you are in a certain window, you may only have some options depending on your health to go into the plans. I'm referring mostly on the Medicare supplement, whereas the Medicare Advantage and your prescription drug plans, every year you're going to have that annual enrollment period to make a change on that. So it's just understanding how they work, the networks. Do you have a network? So just these little things that you need to look at, and the cost, because that is sometimes ultimately the deciding factor on what route to go.
I've heard probably one of you guys say this, okay, at different times, was that every year you should be taking a really good solid look at what drugs you take, what because it might make a big difference as to which plan makes the most sense for you one year versus the next year. Is that, all I know is enough to be dangerous. I know enough to ask that question. Now I'm done. So you guys fill in the stuff.
You've heard me say that, Jim.
Okay. So, no, I've heard people say it. So yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of you guys, so maybe more of you guys, but anyway.
It's very important.
We would all probably say that too.
We are all going to.
We all say it. Yeah. People don't do it, but we say it, but they should do it.
Right.
So fill us
Hey,
in on
Jim,
that.
can you hear me now?
Tell us what they're needing.
Kevin.
All right,
Hey!
you can hear me.
While we
Hey,
got you, while we're live and we have sound, tell me who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff.
First of all, just like with Medicare, it's not a one size fits all as far as Zoom.
Yeah.
I've tried 2 different laptops. I ended up having to call in through my phone, but hey, I'm glad you guys can hear me now. Yeah, my name's Kevin Monahan. I apologize for the technical difficulties in this day and age. I think, unfortunately, we're all at the mercy of technology. But I'm with Hoosier Health Solutions. Been in the Medicare business, helping seniors and folks on disability with their Medicare needs since 2009. We specialize in really all parts of Medicare, help educate our clients on Medicare A, B, C, and D. I heard someone earlier say the alphabet soup, and that's exactly right. And I guide folks saying, you're still working. You don't necessarily need Medicare now, but when or if that time comes, use me as a resource. And what I do is help find a plan that's going to meet each individual's needs, whether it be a Medicare supplement, Medicare Advantage plan, Part D plan, prescription drug plan, vision and dental, things like that.
Excellent.
So again, sorry for the technical difficulties, but I'm here.
Glad to
So.
have your voice live and in person with us now.
Thank
Rachel,
you.
covered A and B. Did we get into C and D very much, or what those are? I don't know if we heard.
Your prescription drug plan.
Okay, all right.
And
Well,
that would be something you would do if you were on traditional Medicare A and B, and then you would get Part D, which is your prescription drug plan. And then you probably would get a supplement to cover what A and B doesn't cover.
C and D would also be part of the actual Medicare program. And then these other programs that are private are different than that, right? No?
Medicare C
C and
is,
D are administered by private insurance companies approved by Medicare.
Okay.
So essentially, in essence, Medicare contracts with a private insurance company to administer Medicare Part D, which is prescription drug coverage that goes in addition to someone's Medicare A and B, or we have the Medicare Advantage or Part C, which is administered by an insurance company who's contracted and approved by Medicare to manage and administer all the Medicare A, B, and D benefits. And I tend to talk with my hands. So if you think about it, you've got Medicare A and B here, Medicare D here, and what's in the middle, and that's Medicare Part C, and that combines everything all into one. But again, it is administered by a private insurance company, contracted and approved by Medicare.
So it's not confusing at all for people who don't do this every day, right? That's what you're saying.
Jim, a lot, what Rachel had said, which if you don't understand is Medicare Advantage is Part C. And so people don't really get that a lot of times, so.
Count me in that number, because I've been trying to figure this out for years and it never makes any sense. I look at my family members and I'm going, So tell me, what's the biggest mistakes you see people making? You've got, probably the biggest mistake is not sitting down with you every year. Okay, so we'll take that as the biggest mistake. Now, the ones that you've run into that finally have enough sense to sit down with you, but they didn't the year before, what kind of mistakes do you see people making on a regular basis? And I'm like, you guys all see it, so I'll let you all talk about it.
I would say having the mentality of set it and forget it. They think just once they initially make that enrollment, they just don't look at it again. So just not having that yearly review, I would say, can get a lot of people in trouble, especially with their cost and coverage options.
I have to agree with that, because one of my counselors in another part of the area worked with a lady during the open enrollment period this year, and her doctor had said, something's not right for the amount of money you're paying, and she was paying a little over $32,000 out of pocket on her drug plan. And she, fortunately or unfortunately, had the wherewithal to do it, so never paid any attention to it and thought this is just the way it is. And so after they examined her drugs and the different plans, the difference in cost came out to be $1,000.
Yeah.
So there's why you keep up on it. It might, obviously it's not going to be that kind of, that amount of money all the time, but the dollar's a dollar. So anything that you can save by making sure you're on the correct plan is well worth it.
Yeah.
And I think people also need to realize that their health makes a difference because, once you're on a plan, Medicare has to accept you when you first sign up, no matter what's wrong with you. But once you're on that plan and you've been on that plan for a year or so, if you want to get on it to get it into a different plan, if you're on a traditional Medicare plan, then you have to health qualify to change from one plan to the next plan. And people don't realize that.
Yeah, I think just to continue on something that was said earlier about being important to look each year, some people feel like if their health didn't really change and their prescriptions didn't change, then their insurance is just going to stay the same. And every year they get that letter from the prescription drug company if they're on just prescription drug with supplement or their Medicare Advantage. And it tells you what changes have been made in the plan. Maybe there was a premium increase or changes in the tiers of the medications, and people don't look at that. It's so important to make sure that the same medications that you're taking are still going to be the most economical with the company that you have, and to see what the premium is going to be. And even taking a look at the pharmacies that are in network. I meet a lot of people who don't realize that there are in-network pharmacies and out-of-network pharmacies and preferred pharmacies with their plans. And if they just chose the right pharmacy, they could be saving a lot of money. And just looking at that each year can save them so much money.
The plans change. To add on to that, Leslie, these companies get bought and sold constantly. And so you have clients that are like, well, I was always with company A, but then they got bought by company B, and then my prices went up by 30%, but I don't understand. That's why it's so important how fast this changes in, the pharmacy world and the providers, that you sit down every year, because it can really have a huge impact what they do at the corporate level and who they align with.
Yes.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. If somebody makes a change
Mhm.
from one year to another year during their, their renewal time or what have you, is it possible to screw up that's unrecoverable? Like, say, for instance, you make a change that you can never go back to the right one, or are you always built a flexibility to go back and forth between plans? So in other words, the reason I'm asking that is one of the panels that I did, and I don't know which one of you guys was on there, it was one of you, but was saying that there was a change in a plan that if you were a certain age you were on, that if you get off of it, you wouldn't have that rate anymore. And if you couldn't get back to that rate, I can't remember which plan it was now. And then the other thing was, they were talking about that particular group of people might get to where it gets more and more expensive as less and less people are in that pool. I don't remember the specifics, but generally, can people get into a situation, well, I'm just jump out of this into this, and then wish they hadn't? You can't get back.
I think what you're talking about is the plan F.
Yeah.
Yes, I am actually. Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With Plan F, and if you turned 65 after January 1st of 2020, you can no longer get those people can't go into Plan F. If you were 65 before January 1st of 2020, you can still get a Plan F if you want it. But what you've probably heard people say is they're thinking that because less people are going into the Plan F, that the cost of it is going to raise, their premiums are going to raise more quickly and higher because there aren't as many people in that pool to offset that. But there are other options of plans out there. We're not supposed to get into super specifics, and also, but there are plans out there that are an option for people who can't get Plan F, and there are plenty of good options out there.
Well, I know that if you can't get, I'm not going to be able to get Plan F, but let's say my mom's on Plan F. Mm-hmm. Does she need to stay? I don't know about her particularly, but I'm just saying, can someone screw up by not getting off of it and then not be able to get back? That's what I'm asking. If they decide to make a change and then they can't get back, or.
It would be a good idea. Like we said, it'd be a good idea each year to take a look at specific situations and see what the options are. And I don't know, screwing up's a tough term. I don't know.
Oftentimes, depending on the scenario, and again, without getting into too many specific plans, but oftentimes if you move from one type of plan and you move to a different type of plan, and this is your very first time, you do have a trial right, a 12-month trial right period, where if you don't like the change you made, you may have the opportunity to go back what you had anytime within the first 12 months, no questions asked, without being underwritten or rated up. So if you're dealing with an agent who knows the rules and is able to understand those, you can probably have a trial right to change your plan without necessarily being stuck and not having the ability to go back. But again, that would be within a certain time period, depending on the carrier you were with, and also the type of plan you switched to. But generally, if you're working with somebody like one of us on this panel, we're going to do right by you and make sure that you understand any changes you make, and probably give you a window to undo that change, at least within the first year.
Well, that's a great answer for what my question is, because what I'm trying to say is, and what I was trying to make the point is this is complicated. Okay, it may not be as complicated for you guys, but I can promise you that if you're not doing this every day, it's complicated. Okay, and how can you screw up? How can you not screw up if somebody's trying to navigate all this stuff? I'm kind of letting people know why they need to talk to you guys. Okay, because I can tell you from a perspective that my family members have never talked to one of you guys before. I mean, not when I say you, I'm talking about you generally in the industry. Okay, they've just done it, or because somebody in the family is an insurance agent, they think they know how to read it. Okay, so so it's, which probably is not necessarily the best thing either if you're not dealing in this particular specific space, right? So it's kind of like getting an attorney and saying they're an elder attorney. It's not the same thing, so tell me what's it like to come in, and I have all of you explain this, but when someone's going to be talking to you, when is it time for them to sit down and talk to you and start evaluating things? What do they need to be thinking about and bringing with them for these meetings? Tell me what it's like to work with you. Kevin, you're big on my screen, so I'll let you start with this. So
So I mean, as far as timing goes, if I've had folks call me and say, hey, I'm 64 years old, I'll be 65 in a year, and I'm just trying to get a head start on this Medicare. And what I would tell them is, really, I'd like to speak to you in the calendar year that you're turning 65, because if we're talking about something right now, whether it be Medicare in itself or a specific plan, those numbers are going to change from year to year, whether it be, the Medicare Part B premium, which is, and Part A deductibles and Part B deductibles, things that the government sets, those can change from year to year. But, really anytime within that calendar year, if you have a realistic expectation of going on Medicare, hey, I'm turning 65, or hey, I'm 66, but I know I'm going to retire in June, and we're here in March, and, I'd like to set up a time to meet with you. Your initial enrollment period when you're on Medicare, or when you're going to become Medicare eligible, is 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and 3 months after your 65th birthday. Now, I always tell people, just because you have 3 months after you turn 65 doesn't mean you want to wait that long, because if you wait that long, let's say I'm 65 in 4 months and I want to sign up for Medicare now. There's a good chance, in those 4 months or 3 months after you've been 65, you may not have any coverage. So we want to make sure that, we're sitting down and getting everything in place a good 2 to 3 months before you turn 65 and before your Medicare starts. So when your Medicare starts, that first day in the month that you turn 65, everything will be in place and in effect. And when I sit down with somebody to go over, their Medicare needs, I always ask them, tell me about the coverage you have right now. Tell me about your providers. What doctors and hospitals do you like to use? Also, can you provide me with a list of your medications? Because different plans cover medications and in a different way. One plan may cover medication at a very high level, a very high cost sharing, and another plan may cover that at a very low cost sharing, which, and that's what we want to look at, is what plan is going to best cover your medication, is going to, I try not to say best, so be careful when I say this. I'm not saying one plan is the best, but what plan is going to be most suited for your medications, your needs, your doctors, your hospitals, and things like that.
Excellent. Well, Rachel, I want to pick on you now. So that's if I'm turning 65, turning whatever. Let's say somebody has been on Medicare for a long, long time, and it's coming up towards the renewal cycle. Tell them when do they need to start looking? What do they need to look at? When do they need to call one of you? What kind of things would they bring into that conversation?
So it's going to be dependent on the plan that they have. For most, on their prescription drug, or if they have a Medicare Advantage or Part C plan, that's going to be during the annual enrollment period. So that's October 15th through December the 7th. If you're on a Medicare supplement plan, you can look at those year round. The thing though on that, like Colleen had mentioned earlier, was, just having to pass the health questions and the underwriting in order to move. So there are other situations that could allow somebody to move throughout the year, but most people are that annual enrollment period would be the window to at least to do that search and review on those plans. And it would be kind of collecting the same information. I mean, are has anything changed with your prescriptions? What about your provider, your health, even just financials? Is there anything else that we need to be aware of, or maybe some different plans that we need to be looking at? So, and there are other programs that tie in with Medicare too. So that could, those would be conversations to come up as well when it comes to like income.
So do you go in, and this is for, by the way, all of y'all just jump in too on this. This is a conversation. So if we have the periods from October, what did you say it was, October 15th?
Through December 7th. Mm-hmm.
December 7th. Is there any advantage to getting together before that to start getting your ducks in a row? So when we're there, or do you just wait for that window?
October 1st would be the time that you can actually start talking about the products.
Okay.
Then you're not allowed to discuss them.
Oh, is that right? Okay. All right. So that, in other words, you guys get really, really busy in that quarter is what I'm starting to understand here. So yeah.
I just want to add something back to what Devin was saying about the time frame. The 3 months before, the month of, that time slips by pretty quickly. And, people say, oh, I'll get to it, I got another month. Oh, I'll get to it, I got another month. And all of a sudden they get busy, something happens, and they're past that window of opportunity. And now they're going to be out of that guaranteed enrollment period. So it is important to keep your wits about you and your time frame and not procrastinate.
Okay.
And Jim, I
Yes.
just want to add to what Rachel said. A lot of us want to be that help for our clients so that if they do have a life change, their insurance needs to change. They do have options, and it could be that their income is impacted. So to be able to give them options yearly, if something changes, is really the goal, to be there to answer questions, because a lot of things do not stay static forever, and they do need to be evaluated with what's going on in their lives for their coverage.
Now, is Medicare, does it work the same way as other insurance, that if there's a change in, maybe they've gone from being married to widowed or widow, or do they then get a chance to make a change, or is it all individual just on Medicare? And so it just waits that annual time frame.
Everyone's their own individual
insurance,
on
but there
Medicare.
are-
There's no more. Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, no, go ahead.
There's no employee plus spouse or spouse plus dependent. It's your individual on Medicare, your spouse, same thing. So, unfortunately, we do see spouses pass away, someone becomes a widow or a widower, but that doesn't impact your Medicare coverage in any way. It doesn't create a new enrollment window. There are certain times, I'll say life events, that do create what we call an SEP, a special enrollment period. For instance, if you move from Indiana to Florida or Ohio or a different state, that would trigger what we call an SEP, a special enrollment period, where depending on your plan, because not all plans are portable, meaning they're not going to follow you where you go. Certain instances, you would have to get a new plan in the state in which you reside. And for some people, that can actually be a blessing, because that provides them with an opportunity to get a plan that maybe they weren't eligible for before. So if you move or you do have a qualifying SAP, a lot of times that gives you the opportunity to kind of start from scratch. It gives you the opportunity to pick out any type of plan you want without being subject to underwriting or having to answer medical questions or things like that.
That's a great, let's say, for instance, somebody moves mom from Indiana to Florida, or from Florida to Indiana, or whatever the
Sure.
situation would be. Is there something that alerts them to this trigger if things aren't, or do all of a sudden you walk in the hospital and go, oh my God, we're not covered? Is there like a red flag that comes up and tells them they have to do something, or do they?
They'll get a letter from their plan within that. Really, they should be notified in writing from their plan from the moment they've officially made that move and updated that with their plan and Medicare and Social Security. And that provides them with a short window of about 62 days to pick out a new plan. So
it does give them a little bit of it gives them an alert and window.
It does.
I can see that being something
Now,
really easy for people not to think about.
Right.
So, well, this has been great. What kind of things would you that has not come up yet that you really would love for people to know and understand, that you're out dealing with this on a regular basis and people don't know? What kind of things would be, if you have a megaphone and you can tell people, what would you want to tell somebody? So I don't care. Colleen, you can start with this. If you
ignore the TVs.
And your mail. And your mail.
And mail. Yes.
And to call you. Don't give your number. Don't give them your social security number. If you ever are in question about someone who calls you, if you have Medicare insurance and you get a phone call and they tell you, we're from your insurance company, blah, blah, blah. I tell customers, hang up and call the customer service number on the back of your insurance card and ask them if they called you, because they keep track of when they contact the customers, and you can verify if that was a real call. Be super careful. Be super careful who they talk to on the phone.
So
I guess it's similar to quarantining yourself with COVID-19. You need to quarantine yourself for a few months. Don't talk or see anybody. But it is true. There's just so much stuff floating around out there. And maybe we made it sound like, oh my gosh, it's this big mystery, which it is. But someone who has done this, and again, as a professional in the business, can really break it down pretty easily. I get calls from people and they've got a smattering of information. They know a little bit about this and a little bit about that, and they want to tell you everything, so they want to tell me everything they already know about it. And it's basically, stop. Let's go back to the beginning, assuming that you haven't talked to anybody, and we'll explain it to you step by step. And then, we all can pretty well make the mystery disappear.
That's awesome, because that's just it. I mean, I know people that are watching this don't understand all this stuff. There's no way in the world they do, because I know I don't understand it. Even listening to you guys, I know who I'm going to call. What that's about. Where we're at here, it's kind of like, and I wanted people to be aware of what you guys do, because I don't think that a lot of people really know why or how, or they think about buying Medicare, it's governments. They don't think of insurance people being required, as far as guiding you through it. But it's a different animal out there. So, trying to figure out how to do it. And I know that code. What are you guys doing right now? I guess with, hopefully, I just listened to the governor right before this thing came on. I was not particularly happy because he just keeps kicking the can down the road. But hopefully one of these days, we're actually going to be turned loose and be free again and get to make our own independent thinking. But what we choose to do. What are you guys doing if somebody's in assisted living, they're in a place where they're in lockdown? how are you helping them? Tell me what you guys you've had to be dealing with this for about a year now. So what advice do you give for that? How do you go and help someone that you can't get face to face with, or isn't real tech savvy to get on a Zoom meeting?
I've been doing a lot of phone calls, and sending things in the mail. Snail mail is still works. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to send something in the mail and then do a phone call with them and try to walk them through it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've all become pretty efficient with using the telephone and explaining things.
So, well, like I said, hopefully we'll be back where we're live and in person again, any month now. But anyway, so I don't make life so much easier.
Next week, please.
Jim, I know you had said, what do you wish people knew?
Yeah.
I still get a lot of people that assume that Medicare is free, and don't understand that you have to pay for Part B. And even worse, especially, on the north side, this happens a lot. It is based, Part D and Part B are based on your income. And I still have some tough conversations with people that had no idea it was based on their income and have to pay a higher amount, which changes every year. And that can be quite substantial to people that didn't understand they had to pay for it, and then found out that they're paying a higher rate based on their, net income from 2 years ago. So I still get some questions that I wish people knew, it's a little bit of a shock to them. That's why it's so important that you have someone that can explain it to you and answer those questions.
So the fee structure is from 2 years earlier.
Yeah, usually. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, so I just wanted to make sure. Go ahead.
And your net income. Mm-hmm.
And even in general, not even the income situation, a lot of people, I found that when I first got into this, a couple of years ago, to do a presentation, and a lot of younger people would say, I thought Medicare was free.
Yeah.
And I tell them, the only thing that I know that's free is air. Oh, wait, that's not true anyway, because you have to pay for it at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's one of the misconceptions. Oh, I didn't know I was going to go, what's this amount coming out of my Social Security? That's your Medicare. So again, there's one of the misconceptions that we're, alluding to earlier. And it is a shock to a lot of people, especially if income is a major concern.
And people don't understand, but half of the people that are over 65 in the Medicare program, they're 2 times the poverty level. There are a lot of people that live below their means, and so that amount per month is a big shock to them.
So, sorry, I gotta say something. I thought I heard something. Well, I appreciate this. I think this is going to be really good for people. This will go into our files, for people to go back to. I'm constantly sending these videos out to people that I see asking questions about here, listen to these guys, But how would the best, just give you, while we're on here, why don't you, and I'll put this on the thing, but how do they get a hold of you, and what's your best way that you like to work together? And I'll just start with you, Colleen, just kind of work across as we're finishing up here.
Email is colleenpage@me.com, or they can call my cell phone.
Okay. Mona
at healthcareadvocate.com. You can reach me that way or by my cell phone. And I meet people wherever it's convenient, in person, Zoom, on the phone, whatever works for them.
Yeah.
Just answering a question real quick. Somebody wanted to know if this was going to be on video. Yes, it will. So anyway, Kevin, you popped up on my screen, so go ahead.
Okay. However, whatever is easiest for people. I'll face-to-face, Zoom, over the phone. Give me a call. My cell phone number is 317-222-9350.
Leslie.
Yes, I will do in person, phone, Zoom, whatever's most comfortable for the customer. My phone number, my cell phone number is the fastest way to reach me. It's 317-709-4600. 1212. And my email address is Leslie@IN, like the letters for Indiana, INinsuranceadvisors.com.
Excellent. Rachel.
Same as everyone else as far as just the meeting place, and then just either cell phone or email, whichever is easiest to reach out to me.
Okay. Bruce, you're in there somewhere. I lost you here, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yes, like everybody else, a phone, 317-283-4070, or email bmship. I always stress SHIP, bmship4331@gmail.com.
Well, I want to go ahead and do a real quick screen share real quick and show you what's coming up soon. So we have these events a couple times a month. I'm really excited. We have phenomenal panels, as you just saw. So you can come here to Life's Copilot and see all kinds of information. A lot of these people write blogs here. There's a video library, which is where this will be soon after it is published. We'll get it onto the video library. And upcoming events today, we had the Medicare. The next one coming up is hospice. It's one of the most misunderstood words in the entire industry, and we've got a group talking about that. After that, we're going, Parkinson's month is April, so we're going to be doing a panel on Parkinson's, and then on the 13th, I've just made a decision where I'm getting my panel put together, so it's not on here yet, but it's going to be on palliative care because that's something nobody ever knows anything about. So we're going to have that on there, so you can get on here and learn about upcoming events or what have you, guys. I'm always stunned how fast an hour goes, because you guys do a great job. I really thank you all for being here. When I send this video out, I'll put the contact information for each one of these panelists on it when I put it out on social media and what have you. Anything you guys want to say before we close the door? Nobody? So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I believe you're going to help some people with this because it's a safe place to learn about these things. They don't feel like they're getting sold. And then hopefully they'll start understanding the fact that it's really to their best benefit to meet one of you guys somewhere. So, all right. I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.